Listen carefully because what you're about to hear will force you to rethink half the people in your life. Let me ask you something brutal. How many people have you saved who would never do the same for you? Think about it. You pick them up every time they fall. You clean the mess they create. You sacrifice your sleep, your time, your money, and your peace, hoping they will finally change. But they don't. They don't grow. They don't change. They don't even feel grateful. Here's the truth most people are afraid to admit. You're not helping them. You're enabling them. You're feeding their weakness while killing your own strength. Machiavelli understood something people today refuse to face. Helping the wrong person is more dangerous than having an enemy. An enemy challenges you. The wrong person drains you slowly, quietly, without guilt, without limits. Think back to the last time you helped someone drowning in their own chaos. Did they rise or did they pull you down with them? You already know the answer. And here's the dark psychological twist. The more you save a person who refuses to save themselves, the more they start believing your help is their entitlement. They stop respecting you. They stop listening to you. They stop valuing you because in their mind, if you keep saving them, then you must owe them something. This is how good people lose power. This is how strong people burn out. This is how kind people get drained, used, and betrayed. But today that ends. Because in this video, you're going to learn the 7 types of people Machiavelli warns you to never help. Not because you're cruel, but because they will destroy your time, your energy, your reputation, and your future. By the end, you'll know exactly who deserves your help and who deserves distance. Before we continue, drop this affirmation in the comments. My energy is not free. Number 1, the chronically lazy. There's a type of person you must identify instantly if you want to protect your power. The chronically lazy. Not the exhausted, not the overwhelmed, not those fighting real battles. I'm talking about people who have turned laziness into a lifestyle. People who can work but won't, who can take responsibility but choose excuses instead, who wake up every day and silently decide, someone else will carry me. These are the people Machiavelli would warn you about instantly, not because they look dangerous, but because their weakness becomes your burden. They don't shout, they don't attack, they drain you silently, with softness, with dependency, with an endless stream of reasons why they can't do anything today. And the dangerous part, they look harmless, but they cost you your time, your mental energy, and eventually your respect for yourself. Chronically lazy people have mastered one talent, the art of escaping effort. Ask them about their dreams. They have plenty. Ask them what they're doing today. Suddenly, you'll hear excuses. Their past was hard. People never supported them. Luck betrayed them. The world is unfair. These excuses become a perfect shield that protects them from responsibility. But here's what makes them truly dangerous. They don't want progress. They want comfort. And your effort becomes their comfort. They don't use your help as a stepping stone. They use it as a sofa, a pillow, a hammock, a place to relax while you do the heavy lifting. You think you're supporting them? They think you're doing their job. Machiavelli said, "He who is not willing to act does not deserve the fruit of action." If someone won't lift even a small stone in their own life, you should never carry boulders for them. A struggler shows movement, slow, small, but real. The chronically lazy offer nothing but stories, promises, and complaints. You can expose them with one question: what are you doing right now to improve your situation? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. If the answer is silence, excuses, or emotional storytelling, you're dealing with a professional victim, not a struggler. Here's the harsh truth. If you keep helping them, you destroy the one thing they desperately need: hunger. Without hunger, there is no drive. Without discomfort, there is no change. Without consequences, there is no growth. When you rescue them every time, you rob them of their ability to stand. And ironically, they will begin to resent you. Your strength becomes their jealousy. Your discipline becomes their insecurity. Your success becomes the mirror that exposes their own inaction. That's why helping them isn't kindness. It's self-sacrifice with zero return. They won't rise. They won't improve. They won't suddenly transform because laziness isn't their condition. It's their identity. And if you carry them long enough, they'll start believing they deserve to be carried. So step back. Let the weight of life rest on their shoulders for once. It's the only lesson your help can never teach them. Before we move to number 2, drop this affirmation in the comments. I release dead weight. Number 2, the perpetually ungrateful. There is a type of person who can make even the strongest, kindest, most generous human feel drained, invisible, and unappreciated. They don't attack you. They don't argue. They do something far more subtle and far more destructive. They never appreciate anything. These are the perpetually ungrateful, the people who turn your generosity into routine, your sacrifice into expectation, and your kindness into their comfort zone. They don't recognize your effort. They don't acknowledge your intention. And they absolutely do not value the time, energy, or emotional labor you give. Ungrateful people operate with one core belief. You owe me. You help them once. They expect it again. You show up for them. They assume you always will. You make their life easier. They instantly forget how difficult it was for you. The danger here is subtle, but deadly. Ungrateful people don't drain you with need. They drain you with entitlement. When someone is genuinely thankful, their gratitude fuels your desire to continue helping. But when someone feels entitled, your help does nothing but inflate their ego. They don't remember your sacrifices. They only notice the moments you don't show up. Machiavelli said, "Men forget the good easily, but they remember the good they expected but never received." This is exactly how the ungrateful behave. They erase every good thing you've done and focus sharply on the one thing you didn't do. They don't see your help as a gift. They see it as their birthright. And once someone believes your effort is their right, your value in their life begins to fall. Because in their mind, if you give easily, you must not value what you're giving. This is the psychology that destroys relationships, families, friendships, and partnerships. Ungrateful people make you question your worth, not because you aren't doing enough, but because they are incapable of seeing what you already gave. They don't say thank you because they believe they deserve more. They don't acknowledge your help because they think it was the least you could do. They don't appreciate your support because they expect you to keep giving without limit. And here's the saddest truth. Ungrateful people increase their demands faster than you can increase your kindness. Give them a little, they want more. Give them a lot, they still want more. Give them everything. They complain something is missing. You cannot win with them. You cannot satisfy them. You cannot build loyalty through generosity. To the ungrateful, generosity is just an opportunity to take more without giving anything back. Your resources gone. Your time wasted. Your emotional energy drained. Your return zero. And when you finally pull away, they won't reflect, apologize, or acknowledge their part. Instead, they'll act offended. They'll claim you changed. They'll paint themselves as the victim. This is why helping them is a losing game. You give strength, they give bitterness. You offer support, they give entitlement. Let them go. You do not exist to fill people who refuse to see your value. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My kindness has boundaries. Number 3, the arrogant and the self-righteous. There is a type of person who doesn't need help, doesn't want guidance, and gains nothing from wisdom because in their mind, they already know everything. These are the arrogant and self-righteous, people who walk through life wearing a crown they never earned. They're not confident, not strong, not wise. They're simply addicted to the sound of their own opinions. You can spot them instantly. They interrupt every explanation. They correct others without understanding the full story. They reject advice before they even hear it. And worst of all, they mistake stubbornness for intelligence. Trying to help them feels like talking to a wall, except the wall talks back. These people aren't searching for growth. They're searching for validation. They don't want the truth. They want confirmation that they're right. And if you dare challenge their beliefs, even gently, they don't question their ideas. They question you. This is why helping them always backfires. Every piece of advice you offer threatens the one thing they worship, their ego. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more by the eye than by the mind." And the self-righteous are the perfect example. They care more about looking wise, superior, and knowledgeable than about whether their decisions make any sense. When you try to guide them, you're not fighting ignorance. You're fighting pride dressed as certainty. Arrogant people fear one thing more than failure: being proven wrong. They will cling to a sinking ship just to avoid admitting they chose the wrong path. They will defend a terrible plan simply because it was their plan. They will reject logic the moment it threatens their inflated self-image. And here's where the danger becomes unavoidable. If you help them and things go right, they take all the credit. If you help them and things go wrong, they blame you. There is no winning with someone who believes they are above correction. They are emotionally allergic to humility. They see reflection as weakness. They see learning as admitting failure. And they see your guidance as an insult, not a gift. People like this don't grow until life hits them harder than your advice ever could. They need consequences strong enough to crack their ego. They need silence deep enough to expose their limits. They need reality to humble them in ways no person can. And you? Your job is not to break their pride. Your job is to step aside and stop wasting energy on someone who blocks every door you open. When you stop helping them, you protect your dignity, your time, and your emotional strength, and you let life become the teacher they actually need. Because here's the truth: the arrogant cannot hear wisdom until their pride breaks, and you're not the one who should break it. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I protect my peace. Number 4, the habitually wicked. Some people make mistakes. Some lose their way for a moment. Some fall into temptation because they're human. Those people deserve guidance, correction, and sometimes forgiveness. But then there is a different breed entirely: the habitually wicked. These are not people who slipped once. These are people who treat cruelty, deception, and harm as a lifestyle. It's not an accident. It's not a phase. It's who they have chosen to be. The habitually wicked don't just break rules. They enjoy breaking them. They don't just lie. They polish the lie until it looks like truth. They don't just manipulate. They refine manipulation until it feels natural. You can see it in their patterns. Every relationship they touch ends in damage. Every opportunity they receive turns into chaos. Every person who helps them eventually regrets it. Their skill isn't growth, it's destruction. What makes them truly dangerous is that they often appear charming, confident, persuasive, even charismatic. They know exactly how to disguise their intentions. They can act humble, wounded, innocent, or responsible, whatever the moment requires. But underneath the performance lies the same core: self-interest without conscience. Machiavelli said, "A man who causes harm will do so whenever it is useful for him." And this describes the wicked perfectly. If betraying you benefits them, they will. If using your resources makes life easier, They'll drain you. If dragging you into their darkness helps them escape consequences, they'll do it without hesitation. Helping them isn't kindness, it's collaboration. Every cent you give becomes fuel for their next destructive act. Every opportunity you open becomes a weapon they eventually use against someone, sometimes even against you. And here's the part people ignore until it's too late. When you help the wicked, you inherit their consequences. When they lie, your name gets pulled in. When they cheat, you look like someone who knew. When they fall, you fall with them. Not because you helped, but because you stood close enough to look like an accomplice. Your reputation is currency, and the wicked bankrupt everyone who stands beside them. Even worse, they feel no remorse, no reflection, no guilt. They don't apologize, they justify. They don't regret the damage. They only regret getting caught. They don't fix their behavior. They simply search for their next opportunity and their next helper. You cannot heal someone who doesn't see themselves as broken. You cannot guide someone who believes morality is optional. You cannot protect someone who enjoys creating chaos. The best way to deal with the habitually wicked is not redemption. It's distance, cold, unapologetic distance. Cutting them off isn't cruelty, it's self-defense, it's intelligence, it's survival. And remember, when someone chooses evil again and again, helping them does not make you good. It makes you a tool in their destruction. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I refuse to aid darkness. Number 5, the incurably foolish. There is a person you cannot save no matter how much knowledge, guidance, or experience you pour into them. These are not the ignorant. These are not the inexperienced. These are the incurably foolish. The people who refuse to learn from their mistakes, no matter how obvious, how painful, or how many times they repeat them. A fool isn't defined by lack of intelligence. A fool is defined by a stubborn refusal to grow. They have all the opportunities, all the resources, and all the advice in the world, yet they ignore everything. They ignore it because they think they're smarter than reality. They ignore it because they're addicted to the comfort of repeating their own failures. Every crisis, every mistake, every downfall teaches a lesson, but the incurably foolish refuse to learn from any of it. You pull them out of one disaster, and they walk straight into the next, using the exact same behavior, convinced they're untouchable. Machiavelli said, "Experience is the teacher of all things, but only to those who are willing to learn, and fools are unwilling students." They treat every failure as someone else's fault. Blame circumstances, blame luck, blame the world, but never once look in the mirror. Your role in their life is deceptively dangerous. Every time you save them, you don't help them. You reinforce their illusion that someone else will always carry the consequences of their actions. You're not promoting growth. You're enabling their stupidity. The pattern never changes. You give advice. You guide them. You support them. They nod, promise to change. And then the moment you turn your back, they repeat the same mistake. This is the cruel truth about dealing with fools. Your time, your energy, your words, all wasted. Not because they can't learn, but because they refuse to. And here's the hidden danger most people miss. Saving them drains your life. It exhausts your patience. It erodes your boundaries. And eventually, their chaos begins to pull you down with them. Machiavelli's wisdom is sharp. He who constantly rescues fools binds himself to their misfortune. The incurably foolish will never thank you. They will never respect you. They will never become the person you hope they'll be. The only way to protect yourself and to let reality teach them is to step back. Let them face their consequences. Let them feel the sting of failure, the discomfort of mistakes, and the isolation that comes from repeating stupidity. It's not cruelty, it's discipline. It's wisdom. It's survival. Your duty is not to carry the unteachable. It's to invest in people who want to grow. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I release those who refuse to learn. Now, number 6, the master manipulator. Some people never ask for help directly. They don't say, I need your time, or I need your energy. Instead, they tie invisible strings around you and pull you into their world without your consent. These are the master manipulators, artists of human emotion who weaponize guilt, pity, and obligation. They don't ask, they engineer. They don't speak, they perform. A master manipulator understands your mind better than you do. They know your weaknesses, your values, your desires, and they craft every word and every gesture to control your reaction. Sometimes they appear helpless, sometimes strong and misunderstood, sometimes a victim, sometimes they switch roles mid-conversation just to see which version gets your sympathy. Machiavelli said, men are driven by fear and desire. To control them, know both. Manipulators live by this. They know your desire to help and your fear of conflict. They turn both into weapons. Every favor you give becomes a currency to them, a debt they never plan to repay. They don't appreciate your support. They exploit it. They don't respect your boundaries. They test them. And when you finally resist, they flip the story. Suddenly, you are the problem. The danger is subtle. Manipulators don't attack openly. They twist the narrative silently until your energy becomes their fuel. The brutal lesson: you cannot save a manipulator. You cannot negotiate with them. You cannot make them act in your favor. Your only power is cutting the supply. Your attention, your energy, your reactions. Once you stop engaging, they move on to their next target, their next source of emotional fuel. And that's exactly why Machiavelli warned, never give power to those who thrive on control.